In this video, I am going to discuss the one of the main concept in the fifth modulo, that is intake structures. Whenever the water is withdrawn from a surface source, such as a lake is a surface source, or a river or reservoir, the entrance of the withdrawal conduit is not an integral part of dam or any other related structures. Then an intake structures must be constructed at the entrance of the conduit. The conduit is a channel for conveying the water. So, especially in the dam and a river or reservoir or lake, the conduit is not integral part. In that situations, we will going to construct the one of the structure that is called intake structures. So let us see the basic functions of intake structures. The basic function of the intake structure is to help in safely withdrawing water from the source over a predetermined full levels, and then to discharge this water into the withdrawal conduit, normally called intake conduit. So conduit here, it is a just like a pipe or it is a channel. It is helpful for conveying the water through that conduit, which flows up to water treatment plant. The sum of the factors governing location of intake. So here the factors are to be considered while locating the intake. So let us see one by one. First one, as far as possible, the site should be near the treatment, so that the cost of conveying water to the city is less. So it means that if the site is near the treatment plant, the cost of construction of the intake is less. Second one, the intake must be located in the pure zone of the source to draw best quality water from the source, thereby reducing load on treatment plant. So in case of quality water, so the help if we get the quality of water in the pure zone, thereby reducing the load on the treatment plant, means the quantity of treatment is very less. Third one, the intake must be never located at the downstream or in the vicinity of the point of disposal of wastewater. So to avoid the construction of intake covers, especially in the downstream side as well as where the wastewater comes. Fourth one, the site should be such as to permit greater withdrawal of water if required at future date. Fourth one, fifth one, the intake must be located at a place from where it can draw water even during driest period of the year. Sixth one, the intake site should remain easily accessible during floods and should get flooded. Moreover, the flood water should be concentrated in the vicinity of the intake. So let us see the types of intakes. The first one, according to the type of source. So already you know the source, either surface or subsurface. So here the surface sources are river, canal, reservoir, lake. So if the intakes are constructed at the bank of the river, we can easily call it as the river intake. If the intake is constructed at the bank of the canal, is called canal intake. Just like a, if the intake is constructed at the bank of the reservoir, is called reservoir intake. And fourth one, lake intake, it is constructed at the lake. And second one, according to the position of intake. So first one, submerged intake. Second one, exposed intake. According to the presence of water in the tower, one is wet intake and another one is dry intake. So let us see one by one. According to the position of intake, first one, submerged intake. The submerged intake structures are those which are constructed entirely underwater. The name itself indicates submerged. So intakes are sink into the water. They are less expensive to construct but are difficult to maintain. So these intakes are difficult to maintain and it is easily constructed by with less expensive. The such intakes are commonly used to obtain water from lakes. Yes, when this type of intakes especially is constructed in lakes, we get the water from the lakes. Second one, exposed intake. The exposed intake is in the form of well or tower constructed near the bank of river or in some cases even away from the bank of river. So these intakes are constructed at the bank of the river or away from the bank of the river. They are more common due to ease in operation and maintenance. According to presence of water in the tower. First one, wet intake. A wet intake is the type of intake tower, always in circular shape, in which the water level is practically the same as the water level of the source of supply. Such intakes are also called as jack well and it is most commonly used. Second one, dry intake. In a dry intake, there is no water in the intake tower. Water enters through entry port directly into conveyance pipes. The dry intake tower is simply used for the operation of valves. River intake. A river intake is located on the upstream side of the city to get comparatively better quality of water. So with the help of river intake we can get the better quality of water. So these they are either located sufficiently inside the river so that necessary demand of water can be met in all the seasons of the year. The intake tower permits the entry of water through several entry ports located at various levels to cope with fluctuations in the water levels during different seasons. These are also called as penstocks. The penstocks are covered with suitable design screens to prevent entry of floating impurities. The penstocks are just like a screens which are prevent the entry of floating impurities. So this figure shows the river intake. So here pump arrangement is there. So it is the river bank. A suction pipe it is helpful for withdraw the water from the source. Here the screens are provided to prevent the entry of debris or leaves etc. So it is a wet intake well. The penstock is used for to prevent the entry of floating material or matter. It is the low water level. It is the maximum water level. So here one of the penstock is provided and here to control the flow of water with the help of valve that is called valve stem. Here approach channel is there and it is a drain. The excess water is flow up to the drain. Canal intake. In case of a small town, especially in the small town, we can construct for canal intake and nearby irrigation canal. Always the canal is used for irrigation purpose. Can be used as the source of water. So your canal can be used as the source of water for the irrigation purpose. The intake well is generally located in the bank of the canal. The name itself indicates canal intake. The intakes are constructed at the bank of the canal. Since the water level is more or less constant, there is no need of providing inlets at a different depth. It essentially consists of concrete or masonry intake chamber or well. So these intakes are constructed with the help of concrete or masonry. Since the flow area in the canal is obstructed by the construction of intake well, the floor area of canal is obstructed by constructing the intake well. The of velocity in the canal decreases means the flow of velocity is decreases in especially in the canal intakes. So the canal should be lined on the upstream and downstream side of the intake to prevent erosion of sides and bed of channel. So a canal should be lined with the help of concrete on both side of the intake, that is upstream as well as downstream side, to prevent the erosion of sides. You can easily prevent the erosion of side by providing the lining on the side of the canal and also the bed of the channel. So this figure shows the canal intake. So here it is a conduit, a valve is there to control the flow of water. So this conduit is supported by a concrete material. So, and here on fine screens there, the fine screens are used to remove the particles. The fine screens always in the range of 0.06 to 0.25 inches. And here the one of the screen is provided at the intake valve. It is coarse screen. The coarse screener removes the large solids and debris. So the ranges in the means the size of the coarse screen is about to 6 mm or larger. It is a minimum water level. It is a full supply level. And here put bridge connection can easily operate the valve by standing here. It is a valve operating mechanism. It is a control room. So this level is normal water level in canal. That is a canal bed. Then go for reservoir intake. When the flow in the river is not guaranteed throughout the year, so if the water is not available in case of river throughout the year, a dam is constructed across the river to store the water in the reservoir so formed. We can easily call it as a reservoir. The intakes are constructed at the bank of the reservoir is called reservoir intake. These intakes essentially consist of an intake tower constructed on the slope of the dam at such a place where intake can draw water in sufficient quantity even in the driest period. Intake pipes are fixed at different levels so as to draw water near the surface in all variations of water levels. So this figure shows the reservoir intake. So it is a retaining wall especially. These are constructed with the help of masonry dam. So one spillway is provided on the intake well. It is outlet valve to control the flow of water. So this water is flow through the gravity. That is called gravity conduit or gravity main. So minimum pool level. So these are the intake pipes. Here also the screens are provided to prevent the floating of matter or any large solids or debris. And this level is called normal full level. Here also the control room is provided to operating the valve system. Okay.